Welcome, everybody. Thank you, everybody who's joining me now and who's joining me in the recording of this. Very excited to talk about the topic today, about our 100-year anniversary pilgrimage to Kyoto, Japan, coming in 2022. I can't wait. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. I'm super excited about it. Been putting in a lot of work behind the scenes to ensure that this trip comes together and that everything is working and that we have an amazing experience. So connecting you to some amazing people, going into some very beautiful locations and amazing experiences. So with that, I'm going to get the slides open. And just start up the screen share here and jump through presentation. All right, so we have, like I said, coming up in April 2022 is going to be our first date for the 100-year anniversary tour of Usui Reiki Ryōhō in Kyoto, Japan. I'm your guide, Bruce Taylor from rootoflife.org, of course, here from the URR page, also working with Reiki Cafe University and with anbtherapy.com. You can see some of my background there. I've been working with Reiki now for, I guess, 15 or 16 years. And I've been to Kyoto many times. I've studied in Kyoto. I've done my some Reiki master trainings in Kyoto. So it's a place that I'm very familiar with. And beyond just Kyoto, I've been to Japan as well many times further. So it's a country that has a very special place in my heart. It's very dear to me. And I'm super excited about coming back. Now, in addition to me, I'm going to be the main guide on the tour. So I'm going to be the one taking you through Kyoto, taking you through the temples and explaining the history and the context and helping you connect all of those sites and scenes that we're taking in and connecting that to the practice of Usui Reiki Ryōhō. But joining me on the trip will be my teacher, my dear Sensei Hakutan Animoto of Komyo Reiki Do. So Hakutan Animoto is a Pure Land Buddhist monk and a native of Kyoto, Japan. He started his Reiki journey in 1997 when he was learning Reiki from Yamaguchi Sensei. So this place is Hakutan Animoto, 3 teachers removed from Mike Usui himself. And he is then one of the world's foremost experts on Reiki and in particular, the practice of Reiki as it was taught by Mike Usui himself. So we are going to be accompanied by an amazing resource and wealth of knowledge on the practice of Usui Reiki Ryōhō. And what better time to really dive into his knowledge than at the 100th year anniversary, right? So Hakutan runs Komyo Reiki Do, and that is understanding, or the main kind of ethos of Komyo Reiki Do is to understand that Reiki is not just a hands-on healing modality, but it's actually a spiritual path, okay? It's a mind-body practice. And so this is a practice of calming the mind so that everything else can become calm as well. It's going to be amazing walking with him as well. His knowledge and his guidance into Reiki has profoundly transformed my understanding and my working with Reiki as a healing modality, as a meditation, and as a spiritual practice. And I can't wait to link all of you up with my teacher, Hakutan Animoto, on this tour. And also accompanying us will be Christine Rene, who I work with, who many of you know. I've been working with her for about 4 years now. She is a Reiki master teacher and practitioner, shamanic journey teacher and practitioner, and she does holistic wellness coaching at Reiki Cafe University. She's the founder of Reiki Cafe and Reiki Cafe University. So many of you have heard me mention her name before. You might have seen us working together on podcasts you might be listening to, or you might have joined some of our trainings that we do in live in the US or online. Christine's an incredible wealth of information and practice as well, and I can't wait to have her on this tour. It's going to be an amazing trio of guides for this trip. Now, this trip is a 7-day, 6-night guided tour, and I'm going to give you a sample itinerary here. Now, this itinerary is a sample because of COVID. Okay, we don't know how COVID is going to progress. We don't know how it's going to unfold. We don't know where we're going to be with it. So I'm just giving you an idea as to what we are going to be looking at for this trip. Okay, Kyoto itself used to be the historical capital of Japan, and it is just steeped in history and context and beauty and mysticism and meditation. And it's an incredible place, as you can see by the photo here. On the right side of the screen, this is the old part of Kyoto, the eastern side of Kyoto. And this is where I'm going to be urging people to stay. So an incredibly beautiful city indeed. So day one will find us arriving into Kyoto, settling into our old Kyoto traditional style homes in Kyoto, taking time for some tours of the city and maybe an evening onsen after a beautiful meal. The onsens are traditional baths in Japan and an amazing place to get rid of jet lag and relax and totally unwind. Beautiful places. Now here's a photo of the traditional style homes in Kyoto that I'm going to urge everybody to stay in. Day two will find us waking up and heading to Mount Kurama. Mount Kurama is the birthplace of Usui Reiki Ryōhō. It's where Mikei Usui went to perform his 21-day fast on the mountain of Mount Kurama, and it's where he received his enlightenment of Reiki. So we will travel to the mountain that morning. I'll be touring you through the temples and the mythology and the mysticism and the history of the mountain, and we'll be joined by Hakutan Animoto for this whole tour as well. And he'll be helping you to understand the meaning of the temples, the meaning of the mountain, and the significance of that, not only from his perspective and his understanding, but also from the perspective of Reiki and spirituality as a whole. The image here on the right of the screen is Usugi Gongen. Usugi Gongen is the actual place where Mikei Usui did his 21-day fasting experience on the mountain to receive his enlightenment. So really excited about that. And when we get to Usugi Gongen, we will have Reiki discussions. Hakutan Animoto and myself will do attunements, and we will have practice of Reiki as well. So we're going to have a dynamic day here on Mount Kurama, really steeping in the flow and understanding of Reiki. So this whole day is going to be led by myself, and will be accompanied by Hakutan Animoto, really to just go and plant our roots directly right in the birthplace of Reiki and just sit in the power of the mountain. It's an incredible place. All right, and then day three, again, all of this is a sample and it can change, but here's still the idea. The morning and the afternoon spent in Kyoto, strolling the back streets, visiting temples and soaking in the history of this incredibly beautiful city. And that evening, which would be a Monday evening, we will head over to Komyo Reiki-do and do an evening practice of Reiki and Reiki healing, Reiki attunements, and Reiki shares with the group. Now, this is an incredible opportunity as well because we'll be coming together with the group in Kyoto. So we will mix together with the group for an evening of powerful Reiki healing, talks led by myself and Hakutan Animoto, and everybody will receive Reiki attunements this evening as well. And that will be coupled onto the attunements that you will receive on Mount Kurama as well. So again, just further diving into the practice and understanding of Usui Reiki Ryōhō. Okay, and then day four, a 3/4 day excursion out to Mount Hiai. Now, Mount Hiai is located just outside Kyoto to the northeast, and while Mount Kurama is just to the northwest, roughly speaking. And Mount Hiai is the birthplace of the Pure Land Buddhism in Japan. And Mikei Usui was a Pure Land Buddhist monk, as is Hakutan Animoto. So as we go through this mountain, it's incredibly rich in religious and spirituality history in Japan and Japanese culture and religions of the East. So we are going to spend the day sightseeing and touring the temples. Now, obviously, I'll be there guiding the tour, but these places are so beautiful and so powerful that, of course, there's also going to be time for self-reflection and meditation on the mountains, and quiet time to yourself if you wish. So you'll be free to wander around as you wish and stay in your own space and just soak it all in the power of this place. Going back to Kyoto that evening for an evening meal and perhaps another onsen. So day 5, we will start the day again, returning to Mount Kurama, and we'll have a guided meditation practice at Usui Reiki, again, the birthplace of Reiki. And then we'll continue through the mountain, visiting its various temples and wandering the paths, going through the forest up and down the mountain. It's so a beautiful place to, again, really feel and connect to the energy of the earth as it pulsates here, okay? And if you don't wish to join on that, then of course, optional side sightseeing as on your own as you wish around Kyoto. Day 6 is going to be morning in and around Kyoto, so perhaps visiting the bamboo forest, all of the temples, the philosopher's path, and so much more. I mean, the city has just so much to offer. I mean, for 1 week, we will be easily lacking any want of things to see and do, okay? And then that evening, and to conclude the tour, is going to be another talk and evening of Reiki share, philosophy, practice, and meditation work that will be led by myself and again, Hakutan Animoto. So again, yet another opportunity to dive deep into the practice of Reiki, not only as a healing modality, but also as a philosophy and a spiritual path. All right, so some cost, logistics, and dates on this. Now, the cost for the tour is going to start at 2,500 euros. And that is going to be inclusive of all guided services, talks, classes, Reiki shares, attunements, and Reiki discussions and so on during the trip, okay? What's not included in that will be flights, accommodations, meals, insurance, entrance fees to anything that you're seeing in Kyoto, and any other miscellaneous personal costs, okay? So as you're looking to book your accommodation, a lot of people have asked me this question already. I'm going to be helping people to identify and source their own lodging in Kyoto. So I'll be working with you if you want to go through Airbnb or maybe perhaps some other like booking.com or whatever it might be. I'll be helping all of you find your accommodations. And hopefully, if you want to keep the prices down, we can start linking people together to form groups, because the housing options in Kyoto can become exceptionally affordable if we have larger groups. These homes can sleep maybe 5, 10, 15 people very comfortably, by the way, as well. And obviously, the higher the number goes, then the lower the price goes per night. And we can probably work that down to $20 to $30 US dollars per night per person, depending on the size and the quality of the house and how many people are staying there. But I'll assist everybody with that if you would like. So a very, very rough estimate, this is not set in stone, for the price of the trip would be between 4,000 to 5,000 euros, inclusive of everything. Now that of course depends on where you're traveling from, the budget that you take for your accommodations, and how you like to eat and so on. But just to give you a rough idea of what that will cost for everything, okay? And obviously that's variable depending on your travel and so on, but just kind of a rough idea. Now, COVID issues, and COVID is an important issue here. The scheduled first tour will be the first week of April 2022, okay? Now, this is gonna be, like I said, 7 days, 6 nights. And if you wish to come prior or leave, later, and you want to extend your trip and everything, that's fine, but the tour will take place during that time. So you're obviously very welcome to continue your tour around Japan, and I'm happy to give advice on that as well if you wish to continue your tour. But sticking to that first week in April, the tour itself is going to be capped at 20 people, and I'm expecting this to fill up very quickly. So if 20 people is superseded, if we have 30 or 40 people or whatever, then an alternate week will be opened up, probably the 3rd week in April. But for right now, we're going to be putting everyone into the 1st week of April. Now, all of that being said, we have to be aware of COVID, and we have to understand that it's obviously a very dynamic issue that's going on here. So if there is any issues with COVID, where COVID is delaying the trip, or trips have to be canceled if countries are not open, and so on and so forth, then the trip itself will be moved by 2 months, and we'll continue to move the trip down the road by 2-month intervals, okay, until we can ensure that it happens. Now, obviously, you just have to understand that we're putting in as much work as we can on the front end of this to make this as seamless as possible, and to try to prep for any potential COVID issues that may come up, okay? And with that being the aim of April, if April shouldn't happen to work, then we will move from April to June. If June doesn't work, then we'll move to August and so on, okay? Obviously, that takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of logistics. And so it's important that anybody who comes on the trip really that you do consider taking out travel insurance that covers any COVID related issues so that you can ensure that your money will be refunded and so on. Now, this link is a very long link here. I can see that, but I'm going to share that in the chat here of this talk on our Facebook chat here with this event. And to hold your space in this trip, you're going to want to click on this link that I supply here for you. And we're asking for $150 non-refundable deposit. Okay. Now that deposit is twofold. There's two reasons for it. First off, it's to ensure your space on a trip that will most likely fill up very quickly. And second off, it's to understand that this is a dynamic experience because of COVID. So it's a way to commit yourself to moving along with us should there be any issues with COVID, as it were, right? It's a way to show that with as much forewarning as we can possibly give, that you will also be able to move plans around and so on those 2-month intervals, should that happen to be the case, right? So if we know that we have a pool of people that are committed to the trip and can easily move their the expected dates and let it flow with COVID, then that's going to ensure that we can keep a core booking together and keep the trip rolling. It's just going to be too much of a logistical issue to have people coming in and coming out, coming in and coming out of the potential offering, with lodging arrangements, with booking on Hakutan's side, on my side, and on Christine's side, and so on. There's too many moving pieces here. So we want to ensure that we have a core group of people that are going, for sure. Okay. Now, obviously, that $150 is deducted from the price that you will be paying us for our services for this trip. Okay. So with that, everybody, if anybody has any questions, please direct message me. I'm going to place that link in the chat. I really hope that this has worked here. I hope that the share has worked and everything is good on Facebook Live. And I do believe it is going fine here. So with that, everybody, if you have any questions, if you have anything that you need, or any questions that you have for me specifically, any further advice that you need, or anything that you would like to run past me, please just send me a direct message here on Facebook, or you can also reach out to me via Roots of Life, but on Facebook is probably the easiest here. I'm going to put the sign up link in the description for this retreat. And with that, everybody, I'm really excited about 2022 and coming together to celebrate this momentous occasion in the practice of Usui Reiki Ryōhō with Hakutan, with myself, and with Christine Rene. To each and every one of you, In Gassho, thanks for the understanding with the technical difficulties here tonight. Be well, everybody. And as always, namaste.